Aloha everyone! I'm coming to you from my balcony in Maui, and I am just feeling so overwhelmed with blessings to be here. And this is a dream that I want you all to know that is achievable for you as well. And I absolutely love this book, and I believe that I really personally believe that this book has more influence and power to help you overcome what's holding you back and really, really achieve and go for your big dreams and goals. So I hope that you're not only reading along, but that you're doing the activities that come with it, because we can, no matter how powerful this book and this training is, we can read it and take the information and do nothing with it, or we can read it and apply the exercises and use them consistently, and I believe it will 100% change your life. So anyways, I believe in this book, and I hope that you do too, because it could get you to Maui, it could get you way beyond any of your dreams. So I have been asked to cover step 4, which is goal-free zones and goal replacement surgery. When I was asked to pick a chapter, just looking at the subtitles or whatever you call those, I thought that this sounded like something that I would really like to learn more about. So I absolutely love it. In traditional success programs, they always tell you to start with setting a goal, right? So why do so many of us set goals and never achieve them? He breaks it down to 3 different reasons. The goal is something that we don't really want. The goal is impossible, outdated, or unrealistic, or we haven't given ourselves permission to stop setting goals. And I want to clarify that, because I think, reading the whole chapter, what he means by that is not that we stop setting goals in our life, but that we allow ourselves the opportunity to take breaks from our goal achieving activities. So our habits are like gravity. We tell ourselves, I can't do it, I'm not good enough consistently, and that holds us down as much as gravity holds our physical body to the earth. And we're also probably not used to asking for help or accepting some support from people, or thinking that there is another way to live. Our environment is like the atmosphere. It's where we exist, and it's what we're used to. So we're used to a certain environment and that's familiar to us, and that's why even highly successful people may have to work at letting themselves succeed at higher and higher levels. And Noah actually gives an example of one person that he worked with at a training that was one of the highest financial achievers in the United States. And he said it's amazing how many of these people actually hold themselves back, and they can recognize that from his training. And he said one specific time, this guy mentioned that he remembers he hit a certain level of success, and he actually caught himself holding himself back because he was uncomfortable with this new level of success because it wasn't familiar to him. So it was a little bit scary. And he could see it happening, and he knew what was going on, but he physically, he could not mentally or physically stop himself from preventing himself. He sabotaged himself. And after having this training, the secret code of success, then he said he recognized that he could have broken that barrier and allowed himself to succeed, and he lost a lot of money by doing that. So, I mean, just a real life example there. So what is a goal-free zone? A goal-free zone is a time and place where you give yourself permission to take a break from your goal achieving activities. The way it's worded in the book, at first I was kind of like, what? Because it says, I think it said specifically a goal-free zone is a time and place where you give yourself permission to not have goals or something like that. But what he means by it is you take a break from those activities. And we really do, with this chapter, release a lot of goals that we have that aren't serving us. So why do we need goal-free zones? It's really important. It helps us avoid burnout. It helps us understand that our worth doesn't come from our achievements, and it reduces information overload. It also helps us to reconnect with our authentic self, which is so, so important and why we exist. So when do your best ideas and inspiration come? Think about that. Do we usually get our best ideas when we're working? Probably not. For most people, that they get those best ideas when they're meditating, taking a walk. For me, hiking is a big one. Running, reading, whatever. That's when creative intuition kicks in and it can be heard, is when we're in silence and meditation mode, right? He really, by the way, discourages TV as a goal-free zone, because when you're watching TV, it doesn't allow that creative intuition. So for you TV lovers, it's not a good activity for a goal-free zone. So choose a few activities that you really enjoy for your goal-free zones. You want to rejuvenate and unplug every 90 minutes. And if you do that, you will be ahead of the game and you'll be less stressed. So who doesn't want that, right? He says if you want to be rich, you can't be normal. Leaving normal is exciting because it means that, normal is broke and unhappy. Like typically, overall, that's in general what the majority are. And so I like what he said. Honestly, it was kind of funny, kind of harsh, but he says if people give you a hard time when you're working on your success and breaking out of the normal mold, then just think to yourself, I may be weird, but you're broke. And so, like, really, do we want to be considered normal and stay in that category of everyone around us that are not living the life of their dreams? So, question to ask yourself, what negative beliefs do I have about goal-free zones? And I think the first one that comes to mind for most people is I don't have time. I can't add anything extra into my day, right? What about I don't have the money to do goal-free zones? Or I just don't have the energy. I don't deserve it. My boss won't let me. My father taught me to be a hard worker. So what are yours? What are your what are you telling yourself that would hold you back from doing goal-free zones on a daily basis? Write those down. So when are these beliefs not true? Let's start with time. Now that is a lie. If you're telling yourself you don't have time for goal-free zones, that is an absolute lie, because everyone gets the same 24 hours in a day. So I love this example he uses. If your best friend went to the emergency room, you obviously didn't schedule that into the day, but how many of us would make that a priority and be there, right? So when you're telling yourself you don't have time, that's a lie. You need to change what you're saying and say, I haven't made that a priority yet. Money, it doesn't cost anything to meditate, to journal, to take a walk, to read. You can go to the library and get books for free. You get what I'm saying? So whatever, if your mind is hesitating on the goal-free zones I did, then just keep repeating, if you want to be happy and rich, do what happy and rich people do. So what will happen if you don't use goal-free zones? Remember your why to's and your why not to's. Well, pain is a great motivator. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. There are no shortcuts. I love that he says, I'm not helping you by telling you you're doing just fine. That would be the same as someone who is extremely obese having a physical trainer working with them and saying, it's okay, you got this, you're doing great, just keep doing what you're doing. We've got to change things. So we've got to gain support and dump excuses. This is a great exercise for gaining support for goal-free zones. Don't let your negative reflection tell you that you can't. So after you've written down the goal-free zones and what you're saying to stop yourself, you need to figure out why do you need support, who do you need support from, and what would that support look like. So an example may be if one of your goal-free zones is nature walks, then you need to figure out the support that you need from who and what would that look like. So you might need your spouse to schedule time to watch the kids, or a parent or a friend or whoever. Maybe even delegating some chores to your kids to help so you do have more free time if they're older, or if your kids are young or you don't have kids, then find ways to delegate. So hire a housekeeper or assistant. You may be thinking, but I can't afford that. He says, get creative. Money isn't the only way to barter. So if you were a rich, happy person, what would they do in your situation to allow for goal-free zones? So he says how not to change your life. If you want to be rich and happy, do what rich and happy people do. The average people are, rich and happy people are just average people. They don't work any harder than you do. They're typically not any smarter than you or more charming than you. The main difference between them and the 97% is they've developed the skills of being rich and happy, and he breaks down what those are. They've become experts at managing their sources of personal energy. There's 4 types of personal energy: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. We can do 2 things with personal energy. We can spend it or we can renew it. And you can learn to spend wisely and renew consistently. And over time, get better and better at renewing your sources of energy. And this will increase your capacity to perform at higher and higher levels. So think about, like, if you've ever started a new workout regimen. It's nearly impossible at first, and it seems so difficult. But the more you do it consistently and practice it, the easier and easier it gets, right? Are you good at renewing your sources of energy? Ask yourself that. Be honest with yourself. If you're not, that's what goal-free zones are for. If you don't do goal-free zones, you're restricting your ability to perform and succeed. So then he gives an exercise about managing your sources of energy, and he has like a little chart where you organize how you're spending and how you're renewing each category of your personal energy. So make sure you do that. Then the next section is goal-free or goal replacement surgery. So he asks, are your goals really your goals? He shares an example of a multimillionaire real estate investor named Tim Taylor who retired at age 39 and intended to relax on beautiful beaches for the rest of his life. And he did this for 47 days, and then he started to feel very unfulfilled, and he decided that he had just this inner desire to help other people succeed. So he canceled the rest of all of his trips, and he just decided that he was going back to the drawing board, basically, and I'll tell more of his story later. So does that sound familiar? Do you want something in your life, but you're not really sure what or how to achieve it? Maybe you've been trying to achieve something that you don't really want anymore, or maybe you just need to understand why you're going for that goal. So in performing goal replacement surgery, Noah, let's talk about how he discovered this first. He discovered, along with success anorexia, that many people have their foot on the brake because either their goals are impossible, they're someone else's goals, or they're goals that they don't even really want anymore. So this was really interesting to me. He says, what is an impossible goal? It sounds obvious, right? Like you'd say something that was physically impossible. But that's not what he's talking about. They're most often subconscious goals that we don't even realize that we're striving for. And that's what makes them really tricky. So some examples he gave are to make everyone happy. This is something I feel like maybe I even stress about in my family, like with my kids, like always trying to make everyone happy. And we can't control anyone's happiness. Like, it's totally up to them. We can influence that in certain ways, but we can't make everyone happy. That's impossible. Never make a mistake would be another one. Literally impossible. And it's not like you wake up and write down that goal. I never want to make a mistake, or I want to sell to 100% of the people that I cold message about Plexus. Like, obviously impossible. But you probably don't realize that this is a goal, a subconscious goal that you have. Hopefully you don't have any of these holding you back, but the point is that impossible goals aren't conscious, they're subconscious. So we beat ourselves up for not reaching these impossible goals that lie in our subconscious mind, and that's what we're unknowingly reacting to, and it shuts us down. So the purpose of goal replacement surgery is to make that which is subconscious conscious. So you can examine your hidden, no longer valid goals or impossible goals, and if needs be, let them go. So he also talks about a lot of times we have someone else's goal, and he gave the example of a man who becomes a dentist because his father was a dentist and his grandfather was a dentist. So he was expected to become a dentist, right? When he really wanted to be like a clothing designer or an engineer. So is it possible that you've ingested goals from someone else that aren't really your own? Outdated goals. You set a goal for yourself, but you haven't achieved it yet. That's very common. Do you still really want that goal, or are you still going for it because you've held on to it for so long that you think you still want it? So going back to Tim Taylor, the young real estate investor that was so wealthy, when he decided he wanted to go help other people, his subconscious wanted to go back to the familiar. So he talked himself into going back and starting a real estate firm again. And that would cost him $3 million in 3 years of his life. And through Noah's training, it helped him realize that this wasn't what he wanted. His real goal was to go into the unknown and become a coach for real estate investors. But it was scary to him because he wasn't familiar with it. But he was willing to after this training, and he made $500,000 in 180 days when he launched his new business that was unfamiliar and uncomfortable to him. So maybe you don't have any impossible goals. Maybe you're not going after something that you don't want anymore, or someone else's goals. And if so, that's great. Just skip this step. But if you do, you really need to perform goal replacement surgery. And he gives us questions to answer truthfully in the book. Make sure you do that. So I'm going to skip over some of this because I'm running out of time here. And this is just part of one of the sections that you can read yourself. Okay, so let's just recap since we're running short on time here. Number one, we've been inundated with set your goals forever. This doesn't work for the majority because of impossible, outdated goals or goals that are not our own. And because our negative reflection is always telling us you can't really do it. You can't really do it. Number two, goal-free zones will dramatically increase your productivity. I love this. Taking a break from your goal-related activities every 90 minutes. This is huge. The best athletes and achievers value relaxing, renewing, and recharging. This is number three. Don't feel guilty when you take a goal-free zone. Allow yourself a 10 to 15-minute break every 90 minutes. Scientific studies prove that humans function best when breaks are taken every 90 minutes. How cool is that? It's proven. Number four, goal replacement surgery. Ask yourself the questions in the book to determine if your goals are really your own, if they're impossible, or if they're outdated. And number five, identify any impossible goal, someone else's goals, or outdated goals and simply release them. Give yourself permission to go after what you really want. So, what are 3 things that you can do from this chapter in the next 7 days for your life and for your business? Sit down and write it out. And then I just wanted to end with the top 10 affirmations for this chapter, which we know are questions, not statements. Number 1, why do I love using goal-free zones? Number 2, why do I have permission to unplug? Number 3, why am I allowed to relax and renew every day? Number 4, why do I take responsibility for renewing my energy? Number 5, why do I get support in renewing my energy? Number 6, why do I love going after what I really want? Number 7, why do I have permission to be who I really am? Number 8, why am I allowed to be, do, and have what I really want in life? I love that one. Number 9, why do I take full responsibility for living my dreams? And number 10, why am I allowed to be who I really am and succeed? Okay, so that's it. I loved section 4, goal-free zones and goal replacement surgery, and I think it will make a huge impact. I know it will make a huge impact on our lives when we apply it. So thanks for your time, everyone. Have a great day, and aloha!